What kind of food do you have packed in your bug out bag? That's a question that most of us that have packed bug out bags have considered and often struggle with and go back and forth with. And that's exactly what I'm going to cover in today's videos. We're going to go over all kinds of types of foods that you might want to consider, things you shouldn't consider, as well as I'm going to talk about the difference between the types of bags that you might be putting these into. And finally, if you wait till the end of the video, I've got a great tip for you that it's in the food realm, and it could make a huge world of difference for you as far as being able to push on and accomplish whatever objective you have. So let's go ahead and move into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the just general consideration for food in a bug out bag and the difference between a bug out bag and what we call an inch bag. So traditionally, bug out bags were meant to be a 72-hour sustainment pack. We call them our 72-hour bags in the military, and basically anytime you go on an operation or mission, you're carrying this kit, and the idea is that if you get stuck somewhere or the mission goes longer than expected, that you've got a little bit of a backstop as far as food goes, water, ammunition, etc. on you. That's what a bug out bag originally has been and still technically is defined as. However, in the modern years, there's come about a term called an inch bag, in case never coming home or I'm never coming home bag. And that is a little bit more accurate to what most of us are packing nowadays. Some people may carry both. I've basically went down to one, and I call it a bug out bag, but it's really an inch bag because I'm packing well over what I would need for 72 hours. My thought process on that is I can always trim it down, or I have other bags too, so if I'm going to do some kind of an operation, if we end up in some kind of world where I'm doing something like that, then I can tailor that for a 72-hour bag. But ultimately, this bag is meant to sustain me when I don't know what the end goal is, and it's got everything that I can fit in here and reasonably carry to keep me going and staying effective for operations. So now let's get down to the food process thought of that. So ultimately, when I'm talking about this video, I'm looking at an inch bag. We'll call it a bug out bag, it doesn't matter. But the reason I say that and why that's important is for a 72-hour bag, in all honesty, all I ever packed for a 72-hour bag were just some snacks. And maybe I'd have an MRE in there as well. And because I can live without food for 3 days. I don't want to, but that's easy. I can easily live without food for 3 days. So it's very low on my list of priorities when I'm stuffing a bag, especially if I'm doing military operations. I'd rather fill that with water, ammo, and other accessories like that. So for a 3-day pack, food is very low. Now if I'm intending to camp for 3 days, it's different. I'm going to plan that in a little bit, but bug out bags are contingency bags, right? So when I'm packing in my inch bag, if you will, it's still a pretty low priority because I can go up to soft number 3 weeks without food. Food is relatively low. Water is huge on my priority. Fire is huge. The ability to craft shelter. A lot of things are usurping food in that priority. However, food still makes the list. So what do I look for, and what should you look for when we're considering food for our bug out bag? So I have a number of criteria. One is I want the biggest calorie punch that I can get for the size. The other criteria in here is I want it to be lightweight, small, and pack well. So high calorie, lightweight, small, and pack well. Additionally, I like to minimize the amount of foods that require water. And we'll talk more on that when we get to that part. And then finally, a thing I consider, which is really low on my list here, is taste. Do I like it? I say that so I don't look at this the same way as I do my traditional prepping food. When I'm prepping my long-term food storage, I want it to be palatable. I want us to enjoy our food to an extent, and I want it to be stuff that we'll eat. This is a survival bag. And I've been in numerous survival courses where I will eat whatever. And I know that. And so food, taste, and my desire and like for it is the last parameter that I'm looking for. Now, you still, get option A and B, and they're the same, then I'm going to go with the one I like more. And so it does still fit in there, but it's the last thing. So now let's talk about some foods specifically. One of my favorite survival foods, prepping foods, as far as for this or just in general, is peanut butter. Peanut butter is one of your best high calorie packing for the space that you get foods, in my opinion. This particular little thing is a Dollar Tree. Picked it up at Dollar Tree, so it was like $1.25 because they lie now, they're a $1.25 tree. I want to say this little can here, jar, is almost 2,000 calories in that tiny little, you know, container. The drawback of this is it doesn't necessarily pack that great. It's hard, and I'll talk more on that in a little bit. So peanut butter is something I highly encourage. They have squeeze tubes out there, I'm sure now, that you can get, and that might be a better option as far as the packaging goes for your bug out bag. So peanut butter. Now as we move into some other things, we've got emergency survival food. So this is a emergency food ration. They're basically like these little cookie bars in here, and they're sectioned. I think there's 9 if I remember right, 9 or 12. But this is 3,600 calories for this pack. Now this is 44 or 4,600 calories for this jar of peanut butter. As you see, really, it's pretty close, but I'd say peanut butter is still giving me the better calorie pack for bang for the buck. However, another criteria that I failed to mention that I want to go back to is another thing I look for in my bug out bags, which is not a requirement, but something I like to consider, is long-lasting foods, a long shelf life. Now the reason I say it doesn't have to be a long shelf life is I don't ever expect to live out of this bag and the food within this bag past a typical expiration date. You know, I'm not going to spend a year out of this before I'm resupplying. But I have to stock this. I have to rotate this because I never know when I'll need it. So if I have longer shelf life foods in here, it allows me less maintenance in the normal times and less maintenance with my bag and less chance of me missing something that is now spoiled and went bad. So ultimately I try and pack long shelf life foods in there as best I can. And that's where something like this, which has a 25 or a 30-year shelf life, is going to do better than something like this, which has significantly less. So, emergency food ration bars, and they've come in smaller sizes. They don't have to be a 3,600 block as big as this. So, that's an option there. Moving on to another traditional thing, and it serves the military well, served me well when I was active duty, and it is a good consideration for your bug out bag, and that's traditional MREs. So a quick talk on these. MREs, a lot of people think they last longer than they do. Their actual shelf life is 3 to 5 years. That said, when I was in Bosnia, I think in 1998, we were eating MREs. We were being, you know, that was what they were giving us. And they had M&Ms that were advertised in the 1988 Olympics. So those were about 10 to 11 years old, and they were fine. So they typically will probably go well past their expiration date, as most foods do. A good benefit to MREs is that there's a lot of use to this. This, you know, this pack here could be, or this pouch could be used as a water container, a number of things. You can cut this open, break it down. You can break the kit down smaller. It folds up. You can tape it up and pack it a lot tighter. These are typically, a traditional normal MRE is typically going to be about 1,200 to 1,600 calories. So that's about a day's worth of food, normal food caloric intake. And it's going to pack light, and they've got a lot of variety and food options out there. So this is definitely something worth considering. Another thing you can do is you can cut these open and take out just some of the stuff if you just want to include some of these pouches. So another great option for your bug out bags. Moving on, canned goods. So canned goods. I'll talk right off the bat. One of the things I don't like about canned goods, and then I'm going to be a little hypocritical and tell you on one of the things I do use. One of the big things I don't like about anything like this, a canned product, is the fact that once I open this, I need to consume it all. So it's a one and done. With the peanut butter, I can open it up, I can scoop some out, I can eat it, and I've got this 4,600 calories that I can spread out over, you know, days if need be. With this canned ham, which comes in around just shy of 600 calories, which is not, in my opinion, that great for the size and weight of this, so that definitely would be a no-go. But once I open this, I kind of need to eat it at that setting, or, you know, it's going to start to spoil. I wouldn't say I can't spread it out a day, maybe a day and a half, but it's going to start going bad. So I'm more limited in when I have to consume this especially on something like this where we're dealing with like a ravioli or SpaghettiOs. And these have some good calories. I want to say this can's like 400 and some calories, maybe 500. So a fair amount of calories, but I've got to consume this all at once, which is just not ideal for a survival situation. Another thing I do not like about canned goods is they're bulky, they're hard. I can't mold things around them. I've got to pack them. They're taking up a good bit of solid space right in that bag. Just not ideal for me. I prefer things that flex and can move and also give me the calorie feedback. Same thing with the treat, all these. And if you do pack some cans, take note that ideally you want some kind of a snap top that you can open and don't have to use. Even if you're carrying a multi-tool, it's just faster to pop it open like that versus using a multi-tool. I'll go back. I said I was going to be a little bit of a hypocrite. On my 72-hour pack, because I like Vienna sausages, I don't really partake of them at home, but I do enjoy them here and there. A lot of times if I've got a 72-hour bag and I still do use it for some of the training and work I do, it's quite common, I should say, for me to throw a pack of or a can of Vienna sausages in there. But like I said, that's for a 72-hour bag. That's not really in my, it's not at all in my I'm never coming home bag. I don't carry them in there. So that's my thought on cans. Another thing that I like and I'm a fan of is freeze-dried food. So these are part of my prepper storage, and I do have a portion of our long-term stored food in freeze-dried products. This one right here is sausage crumbles and black beans. Now, I wouldn't pack these cans. What I'd do is I'd open these. So this is a 30-year shelf life. Once I open this can, it's 1 year. So what I do, and just so you know, for the black beans and the sausage, half a cup of each comes out to around 500 calories. I'd open this up, put it in like a Ziploc bag. Actually, I'd put it in one of those sealer bags, the electric sealer bags. Probably throw a Deskin in there, and that's going to extend my shelf life as well. It's going to pack real small. One cup is going to be probably less, maybe even half that size in a good Ziploc bag. So it's going to pack small. That's 500 calories, and it's freeze-dried. It's going to last a long time, and you got a lot of variety and some good taste in that stuff. So drawbacks and the pros and cons to this. The con is back to what I was saying about I try and minimize and mitigate too much food that relies on water. This is going to rely on water. It's going to rely on water to make it nice anyway. I mean, you can eat it in its freeze-dried state. Most of it's not that great if you eat it like that, other than some of the fruit products. But even so, in eating that, it's going to leach that moisture from my body. And just a general survival note: if you aren't drinking, if you can't get water, you shouldn't be eating, even if you have the food, unless you can drink like the liquid from it, because it takes water to process that. You're going to dehydrate yourself faster. So a lot of that's going to be going into the environment you live in, the environment you're operating in. Am I in a desert environment? Then stuff like this would not be something I necessarily throw in there. Am I like where I live here in Alabama? I've got plenty of water sources, plenty of ways to acquire and treat water. Then this is something that I put in and I use because water's not going to be a problem for me. I've taken that into account. And a huge benefit of stuff like this is that I'm not packing that water on me, right? So I'm getting all of this caloric value without the excess weight of the food moisture. So there's a huge benefit if you're in the right environment to packing freeze-dried or dehydrated products, because you're getting rid of that water weight, which is significant, and still keeping your calories. So big fan of those. Moving on past that, another thing I like in general, I love is honey. Honey is a great thing. It's about 60 calories, I think, for 1 or 2 tablespoons. So pretty good caloric punch, never spoils, and it's just a good lift you up, brings that blood sugar up for you. And if you're relying on foraging at all and some of your primitive survival foods out there, this can definitely help with the taste on a lot of that as well. So honey is a good one that I encourage to throw in there. If you can find a soft pack or something like that, stick it in there. It's even better rather than something like this. If I were to put this in my bag, I'd put this inside of a Ziploc bag just because I wouldn't trust the plastic not to break, and that would be a nightmare because, as you know, honey doesn't come off of stuff easy. But honey is a great nutritional source. I love it. So a couple other things. These are a little bit more of a modern day invention, and I absolutely love these. This is a regular just tuna pack. These range around 90 to 130 calories depending on what it's filled with. Like the tuna and ranch is one of the higher ones, I believe. This is just a 90 because it's just a sweet and spicy tuna. These are great because it's a good food source. I mean, you can fold them up, stack them up. You get all kinds of variety of flavors, and they last a good while as well. They mesh well. You can slide them into all kinds of places on your bag. They're easy to eat on the go. Rip them open, and it's not a huge serving. So it's highly recommend things like this. And here's another one. This is 170 calories. This is beans, rice, and tuna. So just in general, these soft food packs that we're seeing more of hit the market nowadays for convenience that don't need cooked. You can eat right out of the bag, and they have a pretty good calorie count for what's in them. I'm a big fan of those for the bug out bag. Now, this is kind of on the bug out bag, and I don't have it, but I took it away. Granola. I have a high energy granola mix that I like. That's actually a high calorie value. The bag, which is probably about 3/4 the size of this MRE bag, is 2,000 calories, and it's got like fruit, nuts, stuff like that. And then you have beef jerky. Beef jerky is not the best as far as the calorie bang for your buck, but kind of go to that granola and beef jerky stuff. A huge benefit of those in a bug out bag or your long-term bag is the morale boost and the mental cognitive boost. So the thing with starving, right, you can go a long time without food, and it actually doesn't depreciate. There's been some studies done. It doesn't so much depreciate your cognitive ability, but what it does do, as soon as you're starving, your body perceives that, man, I need to eat. What happens is that's where your mind goes. So although you still have all the mental clarity regardless of how food deprived you are, what the problem is, you're battling in your own mind to focus because all you can think about is, man, I want a hamburger, but I need to do this. And man, and anyone that's been in any kind of survival course knows this. The great majority of your time spent walking or whatever it is you're doing is you're talking about or thinking about food because that's all you can think about when you're starving. So a big benefit to having some of these granola, beef jerky, even if it's not the best calorie bang for your buck, is this is something that allows me to pop something in my mouth and keep my mind at bay a little bit on thinking about how bad I want something to eat. And that makes me, it's a morale booster, and it makes me more mission effective, if you will, to accomplish whatever objectives I have out there. So I am a fan of putting those things in both types of bags and just having those on your person so you can snack as you go, keeps your mind thinking of other things rather than food. As I said, if you wait till and that's pretty much it on what I have for packing those bug out bags and inch bags. If you have some other stuff, please share them in the comments. I'm sure there's some other great things out there I haven't thought of and don't use, and I'd love to hear what your favorites are. Now, I told you I was going to share with you something at the end of this video that is a huge game changer, and this is from firsthand experience. I absolutely would tell everyone to put some of these energy gel packets in your bags. If you're not familiar, if you do any kind of long endurance athletic events, marathon runners are very familiar with these. It's basically just a carbohydrate, a high fructose shot. It's 100 calories for this particular thing, so not a bad trade-off on the size. But where this makes a difference is, and I've had this, one time that comes in to mind is in North Carolina. I was doing a company training event where I was purposely bare bones, like I had nothing on me, and I was with two of our other trainers out there, and they had a variety of kits, and we were just kind of testing out this 3-day event, seeing how you'd fare. And on the very final day, and I had probably another 2-3 miles hike back to the vehicles, and man, my blood sugar was about to bottom out. I have a little bit of hypoglycemia anyway, but my blood sugar was about to bottom out. and I had one of these. It was part of my bare bone stuff. I popped it and made it without a problem. If I didn't have that, I'm not saying I wouldn't have made it, but it would have been rough on me. This can make a huge difference when you need that extra boost of energy. Your body needs that extra shot. I would highly encourage having some of these energy gel packs. They're cheap. You can pick them up everywhere in your bag. Finally, I'd encourage, please check out our description below. Got all kinds of great information and links to free resources for you down there. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, subscribe to our channel, and we love to keep putting them out for you. Thanks.